Hello, and welcome to today's Coppice Dev stream. For those of you who do not know me, I am Martin Pilkington. I run a small software company in the northwest of England, and I've been developing apps for Apple's platforms for around 17 years now. And when I'm not doing contract work for others, I'm working on my own app, Coppice, an indie app for the Mac that helps you collect your thoughts and ideas, link them together, and visually lay them out on the canvas. And today we're going to continue working on the next version of Coppice. Specifically, we're going to be working on the image hotspots that will enable people to link from images to other pages within Coppice. So why don't we hop straight over and get started. So I see already people have been talking in the chat. Hello, Mr. B. I'll respond to you when you get back from your meeting. But yeah, it's definitely fun to put some stuff in the opening. And hi, Dragon Dust. Welcome back to the stream. How are you today? Right, so what we're going to do is pick up where we were, which is working on our hotspots. So we have our tests here. Actually want to be over there, and we want our image editor rectangle hotspot. That's good to hear, Dragon Dust. Are you up to anything today? Or are you just relaxing? Are you working on your own stuff? So, let this build run go through the tests, and we want resizing bottom because that is what we're doing. So they all pass. Now we want to actually scope things by the size. So have a so we've got it, get the height. If the delta is greater, then we limit it to that. So is this failing? Just not resizing down beyond the image bound. Into these incorrectly. So you have your left hotspot. If you're dragging it that's why 60. Yeah, that should. Okay, I've named the wrong way around. That should be down beyond image bounds, and this should be up beyond image bounds. Also, you're just doing your day job and side projects later. Well, it's always good to get the day job out of the way. I mean, thankfully, this week I'm not actually doing any contract work. I've got the week off, and so I'm hoping to get a stream done every day if possible. I've got a lot of other stuff to get caught up on. I'm doing various jobs around the house, and unfortunately I realised that my car has to go in for a service tomorrow, so I have no idea when that will be finished, so I'm not sure whether I'll get a stream in tomorrow, but I'll probably be doing some streams at different times, like definitely Wednesday, Thursday, hopefully tomorrow, and just try and get a lot of work done on Coppice while I get other stuff done. So I thankfully get to spend the entire week on the side project, as it were. Oh, hello, Sinister. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing today? Right, I've renamed these, which means that I should now guys down, be able to see why this is failing. 160 is not equal. Okay, so that is going down by the full 60. So the current height. Ah, we're getting the rect size. We don't want the current height here. We want the adjusted rect dot max y, because we need to take into account the origin. That plus the delta is greater than the height. Then want to do that. Don't actually use the current height. So this one should now pass. So hopefully that is one test passing. No, still not passing. Why? Ooh. Oh no, I wonder if it's the min wire that we want then. Again? Probably is the min wire because the delta is based on... No. You get the initial rect. Yeah, so you do want the max Y, you want the maximum height plus delta is greater than the image size at height. You then want the delta to be the image size at height minus the max Y. Yeah, because you want the maximum delta down to be that. Okay. That is where we were going wrong. Maths, it's hard. Okay. Still failing. And now we're back to where we were before. Let's step through this and see why on earth I'm getting this so wrong, because it should not be this difficult to get this right. Yes, I am sort of doing TDD Dragon Dust. normally you wouldn't write like 600 lines worth of tests before you start, but I mean, this is just the way I do it with these things. I like to write out all of the names of the things I want to test, then write the test, and then do it. And the reason I'm doing it this way is that this code I generally want to be abstracted away from the UI. So this first gives me something to test it with, but it also forces me to build it away from the UI. It makes me ensure that the UI is not touching this at all. The reason I want it away from the UI is, oddly enough, so it can be tested, but also it makes it more portable. So I can potentially bring this to iOS. I won't be able to bring it exactly. I need to abstract an Bezier path to be UI Bezier path. So there's things like that where there's certain things that can't be taken across, but those are things that I can tweak. The bulk of the logic should be able to move over in future. Let's see, does not allow resizing down beyond the image bounds. Why? Okay. Wait, it would have been nice if every time I'd been trying to run this test, it would have given me that compiler error before. Hey, it passes. So that's progress. So the next thing is going to be having it resize up beyond where we actually up beyond the origin, and that is going to be something that I haven't done before. So let's think about this. Let's bring up the iPad display and just jot this down. So if I draw in blue, not particularly rectangular. That's a bit more like it. Alright, so we have this as our image. We're gonna have our hotspot there. So what we have at the moment is, with this code here, adjusted rect.maxy plus delta, if it's greater than the image size, we want to adjust the delta down. So what that basically means is if you have the you drag one of these points down, because we are basically always going from the initial state, we want to limit the delta down here. That's fine. If you start dragging up, again, that is perfectly fine, because what you end up doing is you get up to around here and we're just constantly adjusting the height. When you go beyond, that is when we start needing to flip things around, because then rather than the origin staying here, the origin is now moving. And this, and now you're going up like this. So now you're basically fixing this point. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Dragon Dust. Oh, and thanks for the follow, Megan. Welcome to the stream. So, yeah, we have, as you are moving down, that's perfectly fine. But when you start moving up and you go beyond this line, then we're basically pinned by this point, because this now becomes our bottom. So what we need to do is, if right, so at this point the delta here is going to be the height. So if the delta, if the max y plus the delta is less than 0, then we want to start adjusting things. So else if adjusted rect dot. In fact, let's stick this out in the variable. So post y equals rect dot max y plus delta. Limit to down of origin. So if my proposed new y is less than 0, then actually does need to be right. So if the proposed new y is greater than or equal to 0, we're going to do one thing. Otherwise, we're going to do it another way. Because what we need to do down and above origin. So the reason we're doing this is if the proposed new y is positive, that means we're just dragging things down. If it becomes negative, then we want to start adjusting the origin, and that is where things such as the height become an issue. So if it's negative, then what we want to do is the adjusted rect dot origin dot y. We want to. That's a fair point. Why am I not just doing plus equals on there? Adjusted. I'm probably not doing plus equals because I was. Actually, I have no idea why. We want to do the origin is the delta, and the adjusted rect dot size dot height equals negative delta. Because if we go back to the iPad and we just add some of this up. So if you're dragging from this point here, and you drag up, so you drag up there, your delta at this point is going to be h, which is our height here. If you drag further, you're going to get up to there. So once you pass this point, it's this, your delta is going to be h. So once you've taken it from there, you're left with this bit here. So that's your new height, but unfortunately that's negative. But it is correct because you've now taken that from there. So if I've done this correctly, I have done that wrong. Because it won't be negative. So if the adjusted rect dot max y So we want the height plus the delta to determine the difference. Okay, just direct dot height plus delta is greater than or equal to 0. Okay. Yeah, so you'd have your delta that goes up there. What's that? That adjusts that. Yeah, so if the delta, if the height minus the delta is greater than 0, that means that we're adjusting in this range here, and in that range, we're just adjusting the height. So we're good there. So let's clear that up, and if we go back, just decides that, so that should all be correct, and now when we're here, we're dragging above the origin. So at this point, we don't need that to be the proposed Y. Below origin, dragging above origin. So here we want to, the origin is going to be plus equals, so we want let offset the equal adjusted direct dot height plus delta. However, not to be a var, because if offset is greater than adjusted direct dot origin dot y, yeah. So if it's greater than that, then the offset equals adjusted direct dot origin dot y. I think that should work and should pass everything except for this test here, because that is our resize around the center. Okay, well at least we've got the first two passing. What are we getting for this? If our offset is greater than the y, oh, the offset's going to be negative. Yep, so if negative offset is greater than y, then this should work. Hi Nunchi, welcome to the stream. The app is coming along reasonably well. We are just effectively trying to get these hotspots working correctly, and unfortunately it's trying a fair bit of maths that does not seem to be working out particularly well. Right, no, the offset. Okay, let's do it this way, because that way we keep the negatives. Would always be negatives. Whenever I got something wrong in maths in school, I'd do all the complex stuff right, but I'd always have forgot to multiply by -1 somewhere. So that will be it's always the case. Oh, come on, why are you still failing? Right, so 100 is not equal to 150. is it 100, 100? It should start at 50, 50. And then you adjust it up. Oh, it's the height, it's the size that isn't. Okay. Height would be... offset, because the adjusted... So the app will eventually make it onto the App Store. What my plan for this year is, I have 3 versions planned out. This first version is aimed at improving image handling. So this is why we're doing things like rotating images, cropping images, being able to link from image pages and so on. So that is the first version. The second version is going to be a bunch of improvements to canvases. In particular, I want to have the ability to like draw informal links on canvases. So at the moment with a canvas, you can have a link between 2 pages. So you are on the canvas, you click on the link, it opens a new page, and there's an arrow pointing between it. And that's great, but you've got to create the link and open it. And sometimes you may have pages around and you want to create informal links where it's like there isn't actually a link on the page between these, but on this particular canvas I want to sort of link them together and maybe add a bit of text on the canvas of why those links are together. So it's basically, I want to start working on that sort of thing of making it so a canvas becomes more than the sum of the pages on it, and so that you could potentially have the same pages laid out one way on one canvas with lots of details on, but laid out in a different way on another canvas but with different details on. So it really makes multiple canvases a lot more powerful then. And then the final one is the actual update is going to be a bunch of just quality of life things, just little improvements here and there, but I'm also going to bring it to the Mac App Store. So that's the point where I am going to finally get around to integrating it all. I think the fact that StoreKit 2 is out and it seems to be a lot better, and the subscription and API stuff that Apple has is a lot better, really helps me move towards the App Store. I mean, stuff like the Small Business Program also helps as well. The initial plan was to release on both the Mac App Store and outside of it, but I ended up just going for releasing outside of it because it was simpler and cheaper. Yeah, I've had bad experiences with the App Store. Like, I was selling Mac apps before the App Store was around, and then it came out and I put the apps on, and then Apple changed a bunch of rules because I believe you had to be sandboxed from the beginning, but there weren't restrictions on certain things, and they changed some restrictions around whether you could use certain APIs, and they basically banned them, and it was like, okay, well, my app is far less useful now. So I ended up, that was towards the end of my first pass at being an indie dev, and it was just sort of, okay, I sold off the apps and went to do contracting, and the App Store really contributed to me stopping being an indie dev. But I eventually I'm getting back in now, and it's just, like I say, it's easier releasing an app outside of the Mac App Store than it is inside, because I would have to build the system I have anyway, or the back-end stuff anyway, regardless of which approach I went for. But the APIs that I'm using with Paddle are a lot nicer than Apple's. I mean, Apple's have improved, but Paddle still is a lot nicer. And Paddle also takes a far, far smaller cut than Apple does. Even with the small business program, they take a far smaller cut while also doing all the stuff like handling all the tax side of things, which is probably the biggest benefit of like the way Apple does things, is they also handle all the tax. But with Paddle, I can do things such as send you a refund if you want one, which I can't do with the App Store. I haven't been able to do. So yeah, it's something that I've been wanting to get around to, and I know I will need to get around to, because I want to work on an iPad version of Coppice, and at that point my system needs to handle the App Store. So in a sense, bringing this to the Mac App Store is sort of separating it out so I can get that all working with the App Store APIs before I go and bring this to the iPad. So that's basically the reasoning behind it. Alright, let's see why this is. Alright, so for starters, okay, so that's saying the size is wrong and the origin is wrong. So it's going all the way past. Why? I can't really say how much the App Store helps discoverability wise, because I mean the Mac App Store is sort of a different world to the regular App Store. Like when you see the regular App Store and you see, oh, this is the top selling app, that person on iPhone is generally making a lot of money. If you see a category on the Mac App Store and someone is like the top selling app, they could be making very little money doing that. Now it has a benefit of the Mac App Store is a bit less crowded, but it's one of those things. Apple has never done an amazing job with discoverability in the App Store. You really need to put more of the work in outside to get people interested. I mean, it's a bit like Twitch. If you try searching for stuff on Twitch, you occasionally find some gems, but it isn't all that great for finding stuff. Most of your work is going to be outside marketing, stuff like that. So it's like the App Store is a decent enough thing. If you get featured, that makes a huge difference. I've had some friends who have been featured on the Mac App Store, and that does make a big difference. But can't rely on getting featured. It's great if you can, it's a massive bonus, but most of your effort is going to be efforts outside. And that's partly why I'm doing stuff like these Twitch streams, because it allows me to do some marketing. I mean, a lot of indie developers are not very good at marketing, and I am in that boat. I've never been amazing at marketing. But the thing is, doing this effectively works as some degree of marketing because it's getting information about Coppice out there, but I'm doing it while I'm working. So it's like, it's low effort marketing in a sense, which is why it's a good idea. I mean, I learned this. I was watching a streamer called Pirate Software. And I believe they were reasonably instrumental in getting the software and game development category on Twitch. I believe they were one of the earlier streamers who were doing like game development on Twitch. And I was watching their streams and really getting interested in what they were saying about how it basically helps in terms of marketing, just doing the streaming, because it's just getting stuff out there and it's comparatively low effort to do. So I think it's this. I doubt this will have as much a impact as getting it on the App Store. Maybe down the line it could, but I think like this plus many other things, being able to take clips from my Twitch streams and put them on YouTube, put them on Twitter and so on, I think that is really going to help a lot, because I'm effectively creating this marketing content as I go along and as I develop the app, rather than having to feel of, oh, this is the thing that I've got to now do when I'm not working on the app. Yeah, Megan, it's very much a case of you need to utilize everything at your disposal that you're willing to. Like I'll use YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel where at the moment I'm just uploading the VODs of these streams, but eventually I want to cut bits out into shorter things so that it's a bit easier for people to watch rather than looking at a 2, 3, 4 hour video and going, it's mostly just a wall of code. It's a lot more interesting if something is going on. But also, like I say, putting stuff up on Twitter and so on. So it's just using all the avenues you have available to you. I actually, one thing that I'm considering doing at some point on the stream was actually something somewhat unrelated to Coppice Development, but in the past I've given a bunch of conference talks, and the talks have been on various subjects, but I actually met someone the other day on Mr. B's stream who had seen one of my conference talks, which was on auto layout, and I'd given that talk and it had sort of demystified auto layout for a lot of people because I explained how all the maths worked, and I'm actually really proud of that talk because that's a conference talk where I am teaching people maths, and that is not an easy thing to do while keeping the talk interesting and getting people to understand stuff. So the fact that I've had people say that, like, makes me feel really proud of that talk, and I've been meaning to write it up for a while. Initially, I do have a draft of a full book on auto layout, but it never got beyond like a first draft. But at some point, I do want to get these talks written up, and I just realised, well, why not just present them on a Twitch stream one day? Just do a stream and just give the talk, and then it's recorded. I can stick it on YouTube, and that becomes something that's a bit more marketing. It's why I write a blog on Coppice. I mean, if I bring up Coppice website, I've got a blog here where I talked about streaming, but I've also done things such as I've started doing dev diaries, which I have just realised I forgot to do February's. So, okay, I'll need to do that at some point this week. But I do information about releases, but also, for example, information about why Coppice had so many delays. I'm trying to be open about that. I added lists to Coppice a while ago, which was quite a lot more involved than I thought it was. So I ended up writing a full thing of how you actually add text lists on the Mac to text and all the things that you've got to do. So sharing bits and pieces, not just about the app, but just doing things that are linked to that in terms of like sharing your code and stuff, be that on Twitch, on GitHub, through open source, through a blog, on Twitter or whatever. They're all just avenues that really build up over time. So it just really helps to have lots of things, because you never know what's going to work. You never know what's going to take off. One of the best examples is Widgetsmith. I don't know if you've ever heard of Widgetsmith, but it came out when Apple added all the shortcut stuff so that you could open apps. And one thing it did was let you do stuff where you could effectively customize your home screen, customize the icons for stuff, because you could have this thing that would go through and open an app, and you could effectively just add these custom icons and make your home screen really personalized. And they had released the app, and it was doing reasonably well, but then someone, like a teenager, had just picked it up on TikTok, and it went viral. And he ended up making a lot of money because he shot all the way to the top of the App Store. But that was something sort of out of his control. He'd never even looked at TikTok that much. But it just so happened that that bit of luck really, really connected with people. Yeah. I mean, the story of that, it's... I don't remember what the name of the podcast is. He does a podcast with Marco Arment, Under the Radar, where he talks about this, and that's a fantastic podcast to listen to. I'm actually quite way behind on that, because I'm way behind on all my podcasts. So Under the Radar is great, but it's just one of those things of you never know what marketing is going to connect, what is really going to make things take off. You just need one person at the right moment to discover the app and talk about it, and that's the key thing. I mean, ultimately the best marketing you can do is the marketing you don't do. It's the marketing your users do, because they are trusted far more than you are. So you are basically trying to get enough users so that it becomes like a self-sustaining mass of they are talking about it to others who will get into it, and then they'll talk about it, and it just builds and builds. Right, so let's see what is going wrong here. So we have offset. Offset is the adjusted direct plus height plus delta. So our delta's minus 100. Okay, so we're going to minus 100. We shouldn't be able to do that. So if the offset is less than that, right, let's do this again. Yet again, sign errors. No failing. Oh no, sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. We're passing. Yay! Hi, Mr. B. Welcome back. Oh, jumping from a meeting to another one. If you're still muted, I'll talk about the start screen when you get back. Thankfully, I don't have many meetings this week. Will I ever stream stuff unrelated to Coppice Coding? I've considered it, because I do a lot of gaming, so I've considered, would I stream anything like that, or would I do something else? I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I have streamed with friends on their channel, doing gaming stuff, so I'm not completely sure whether I would or not. Probably the closest would maybe be something like D&D, but I mean, that was something that I discussed with my players early on, and some of them just weren't comfortable with it, because not everyone is comfortable streaming. So there are other things that I could do. I think I'm just, for now, keeping it to Coppice and to coding. As I say, it may be things such as doing like talks about stuff. I mean, talking about just stuff around software development, such as the design side of things, or the business side of things. I think sharing that stuff is useful, but I'm not really sure if I would do anything beyond that just yet. Maybe if it sort of brings people in and it helps. Have I ever raised capital from the ideas? No. I've worked in a lot of companies. I've done contracting for a lot of companies that have raised capital, but I've never done it myself, and it's not really something that has massively appealed to me. I'm someone who, for my own stuff, I prefer to just bootstrap it, because it means that, yeah, I don't really have like ridiculous amounts of money to throw at it, but on the other hand, I have full control and don't have the same pressures, which is sort of what I want with Coppice. It's just nice having something where the pressure that I have is my own pressure. I mean, you see, a lot of companies, I mean, it's a lot more apparent with companies that initially bootstrapped and then took a lot of capital. A good example is 1Password, where they bootstrapped, they were a big company and they did a lot of great stuff, but they've taken a lot of capital, like venture capital money, and a lot of their stuff has sort of changed because their priorities have changed, because when you take that much money, there's an expectation that you are going to give back more than that money. So you need quite high growth, quite high... you need to think about things in a different way. Whereas I don't have to worry about selling to another company. I don't have to worry about an IPO. I just worry about enjoying building a great product. Right, so now we need to do the option resizing, which makes things a lot more complex. Right. We're going to be doing some refactoring in a sec. So, right, we'll do delta y equal delta y. And no, equal delta. Oh, that's a fair point. I've changed. Okay, I'll have to rename that. So that should actually be 0 for now. However, if modifiers contains option delta y equals delta. Oh yeah, I can increase the font size. Is that a bit better for you, Dragon Dust? So, yeah, if you just let me know whether this font size is good enough. Okay, so it seems to be. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I have considered whether I should try streaming, because at the moment I'm streaming at 1080p, but my screen is a 5K display. So I have considered whether I should try streaming at 1440p, because then people can make it bigger and there's a bit more detail there. The text isn't quite as blurry, so... Alright, so... if we contain option delta y equals delta and delta as equals 2. So this should hopefully now work. The problem is build failed. Delta y, yeah, that needs to be a CG float. Problem is the test does not actually test this other thing. It still fails regardless. Okay. So what is the failure? Oh yeah, because we're not changing that. Adjusted rect.size dot no, origin.y plus equals delta y. So that actually needs to be a negative. So this should hopefully now work. And it does. Right. Now the trick here is I just want to add another test. Holding option on recess around center. Hold on, what's resize and reset. Right. If dragging above. So the delta y is going to be minus 110. Oh, that's a fair point. If you do it that way, it's going to be above. Let's let's do minus 70. Dragging above. Ooh. Okay, so this actually gets a lot more complex. Let's switch back the iPad. So, the reason this gets complex is before we've been doing, if you drag this point up above, then we're fixing from this point and then going there. The problem is that if you hold option, we're actually, rather than like anchoring, like if you drag from this bit, you're sort of anchoring for up and down from this line here. The thing is, when you hold option, you change the anchor point to the middle, which means that it flips around when you get to there. I wonder if we need to think about this another way. Because if we're doing all of these independently, I wonder if we need to think, rather than having a box like we do here, I wonder if we want to think, rather than two-dimensionally, one-dimensionally. So we've got point here, we've got our origin, and you're going to move through the origin. That's actually not good because I'm going. So you're going to move through the origin. So what you're doing to this point is get a delta, and the delta is always going to be positive in that direction. So if you drag, you increase the origin. If it's negative, you decrease the origin. Yeah. If you drag the top, if you drag a top point, you've still got the origin there, just your initial point is here. You're dragging this point here, have the same line. No, you'd set your origin there, because then it becomes the same thing. Because if you are above the origin, you're adjusting like the origin of the rect. So here we're above, and if you're below, you're not doing it. Okay, so you do that where you're just adjusting the origin. So let's say our origin is, well, origin is at 50, and because we're at 50, 50, 100, 100. So this is 150. So if you drag up to, let's say, 100, then you're just adjusting the height. So the height becomes 50. If you go to, let's say, 230, then your height becomes 20 because you've gone through the origin. Because you can basically normalize these all to 0, minus 20, 50, 100. But when you're negative, you want to also negative from the y. And then you can translate that back into the coordinate space of this. Now if you hold option, then go back. This is all stuff I would usually be doing on the whiteboard that I've got in my office. But so what you're doing here is you have your point, you have your line, but rather than having the origin be here and the point be there, when you hold option, the origin shifts to there. And in this case, rather than shifting up and you're just doing H, Y, this whereas this origin is like you'd have, that's, I mean, on here, this is at 50 and this is at 150. So your origin in this coordinate space is 0, 100. In this case, you have 0, 50. And as you resize, let's say to 25 or to 75, if you go to 75, your height is going to be 2 times like this distance here. If you go beyond and you're at like minus 25, then the height is still going to be 2 times that. Your origin is always going to be if you're in the center, your like the origin that you calculate here, the y, is always going to be negative absolute of the delta, because if this is delta, so hopefully that makes sense. You're going to get the delta. Now the delta here, you could move there, that could be 25 when it's here, but when the delta is up here, it's negative 25. So you want to get the absolute value of that, so you just get rid of the negative sign, so it's 25, but then you want the minus of the absolute because it is always going to be on this side of the line. So hopefully all of that made sense and you haven't all just gone to sleep. But that's basically what I'm thinking for how this is. So for a regular, H is equal to the delta. No. Let's jot this down, rub some of this out. Jot down so it's a bit clearer. Hi Alex, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the stream. So let's, you're going to have your Y, you're going to have your H. Now our first thing, if we get rid of all this as well, so you're going to have a normal, and then you're going to have when you have option held. So the first one, normal Y So your height is always going to be the height is always going to be absolute of delta, because if you have your thing there, if that is your delta, then your delta is there, and if you go above, then it's still going to be the same. So you're going to be absolute of delta. Your y is going to be we call this A. Actually, let's call it R for the rect. It's going to be rect.y plus delta but only if delta is less than 0. If delta is less than 0, then r.y plus that, and that gives us our new y and height. For the option, the height is 2 times the delta, the absolute of the delta, and the y is minus absolute delta. Okay, so let's go and take all this code that we have spent part of last stream and an hour of this stream writing and throw it away and start again. So we're going to have our new y, new, what do we need? First we need to work out our origin. So our first step is going to have a point here. Yeah, you're going to have on your line, you're going to have the point that you start at, which is going to be the max y for our bottom handle. Your origin is going to be whatever the original rect origin is. And then what we want is, yeah, so we're just working in the rectangle space, and then we can convert the origin back. So effectively we're working in bounds rather than the frame. So what we are going to do is let drag delta equals let's just work out what we need. So we need drag delta, which is the difference of our drag point from origin. We need to work out origin in rect space. Then we need to add the delta. And that gives our new point in origin space, and then that becomes our delta on here. So we want to get our origin, so that origin CG float. No worries, Sinister. Hope you have a good day, and hopefully next time I'm streaming this will all make a lot more sense. It's a lot of working out maths, which is boring for a lot of people, but I find it quite enjoyable when you actually get to go around and jot stuff on the whiteboard and work out how to make stuff a bit simpler. Right, so our origin, the modifier contains option. The origin is going to be set.initialRect.mid y or we drag state.initialRect.min y, because we want either the middle or we want the opposite. So our initial drag delta is what we start with, and that is going to be the origin, the drag state dot initial rect dot height minus the origin, which is either going to give us the height. Oh, actually, we can't use mid and we can't use min because it's either half height or 0. The reason we can't use min y or mid y is because that takes into account the origin of the rect. So get our initial drag delta. Our new drag delta equals drag delta delta. And then what we want if modifier contains option. Now, so if it contains option y float. So it contains option, the new y equals negative of drag delta negative out. Why are we getting some error types? That's a CG float. That's a plus delta dot y. delta. But if it isn't, then new height equals absolute drag delta, and new y equals drag delta greater than equal to 0. 0. Well, let's just do less than 0. If it's less than 0, it is going to be new drag delta, or it's going to be 0. Then what we want to do is the adjusted direct dot origin dot y plus equals the new y it works origin yeah, so it goes around the origin that, so we're going to want to add the origin direct origin height size that height equals height. So let's see if that works. Probably not, but we'll see. Watch everything fail now. Oh, some of it passed. Ooh. So the only things that have failed are the center one and not resizing beyond the image bounds, which we haven't actually implemented on this yet. Alright, oh, what has gone wrong there? Oh, because I changed this, but I didn't change the output. So if you're dragging minus 70, we're going up 70. So that means that we... Oh, I'm going to have to draw this. Right. Let's just add that layer, shift to this layer. So... you have your rectangle, dragging this point, you're going up 70. Which is there, you're going about there. So yeah, you're going up, so you should be effectively 30 down, so your Y should be 50. So Y should be 80 and your height should be 40. Is that what it is coming up with? It is. Okay. So the good news is when the test works, when the test is implemented correctly, our code works. So we now have the centering going through correctly. All we need to do is make sure that everything is limited by the image bound. So we can do that down here. Let y adjustment y plus origin. If just direct the origin dot y plus equal plus. Oops, sorry. At some point, I will remember to do this. At least now, the thing I'm forgetting to do is not hide the iPad. Previously, it was I would constantly forget to mute, or rather to unmute. And I've actually got to the point where when I am muted, I have on my Stream Deck this flashing at me now. So whenever I mute, this is the mute thing. Now it doesn't pulse quite this fast on the Stream Deck, because the Stream Deck doesn't update the display as quickly. But having something red and pulsing at me makes it a lot harder to miss. Yeah, Megan, I'm constantly forgetting stuff. I mean, the amount of times that I go away and I just switch to my Be Right Back screen, and then I come back and I have forgotten to switch away from my Be Right Back screen and back to what I like, to my normal screen. I want to set it up so that I have actions, so that when I come back, I can like unmute and switch to my avatar and switch to the correct thing. So I'm making sure that I'm in the correct mode for all of these screens, but I forget. But maybe for the iPad, I just need like a flashing thing showing up for when it's visible, so that I can remind myself. The thing is, I have a screen right to my left that has OBS up and the stream up, so I could notice that if I looked at it, but I just get too engrossed in the code. So if the adjusted direct to origin.y plus y adjustment is less than 0, then the y adjustment equals origin.y new height equals just direct to origin.y. And adjusted direct dot origin.y plus adjusted direct dot size dot height, no, plus new height is greater than self dot image size dot height self dot image size dot height minus adjusted direct dot origin dot y. Okay. Build fail. Oh yeah. Bar height. We'll tidy up this code in a second. I never am running this. Okay, so resizing down is working correctly. Resizing up, Y adjustment Oh, because that needs to be just. Done that now. No failing. Because the Y adjustment needs to be negative. This is why tests are helpful. Because they help prevent you be brain farting all over the place. Right. So let's tidy up some of this code because we're going to need to place it. Now the key thing is, I think, this bit. But I think everything from here down works regardless of whether it's top or bottom. Let's test this theory. Let's just copy paste. And if it's the top, drag state dot initial vect dot height. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna I'll test again and see how many of the top work. None of them. Okay. Hey. Negative. No, that's probably going to be. Yep, so that's not correct. So delta. Origin. Origin Yeah, should be the height. So let's step through this. See where things are going wrong. Alright. So our origin is at 100, which makes sense because our rectangle is 100 tall, and for dragging, we basically want the origin when you're dragging from the top to be the bottom corner. So that is correct. So our initial drag delta is 0, which that is what is right. You don't want to take the origin off that, which probably means that you don't want to add origin I. Comment that out. Again. Actually, no, we do need to do that because we need that for the around the center. Okay. Do this again. I know it's going to be that I have a sign wrong somewhere. That is always what it will end up being. So an initial drag delta is 0. The new drag delta is -10. So our initial drag delta, that was 100. And right. That I've done wrong. Shouldn't be. Our new drag delta is 110. So our adjusted rack is the right height, but we haven't changed the origin. Okay, as we're about halfway through the stream, I'm going to take a break because I evidently need to take 5 minutes away from my computer so that I can get my brain working again. So I am going to go and get a drink, and I will see you all in about 5 minutes.
never to learn or grow. Pillars of peace estranged. I guess some things never change. We fall again. Stare through empty window haze. We fall again.
Okay, I am back. So let's get back into working out where I have gone wrong with this maths. So I think what we need to do is bring up the trusty iPad again. Clear this out. I need my screen and a square in the middle. Now, if I want this to be the origin, this is the drag point. So the origin can be in the center, the origin can be there. So we already are at a negative. So our initial drag delta should be negative. So let's copy paste this again. Oh, you just want that to be minus origin. How far off are we? Okay, so we're getting the size correct. Let's just run this one and see if this is giving us the correct size as well. Okay. So let's figure out where our Y is going wrong. So you get your origin, you get your initial drag delta, which is minus origin. You get your new drag delta, which is minus 10. Ah. Well, the new drag delta 10, or rather minus 10. But the height should be 100, and it is getting to 100. Okay. So our new Y is minus 10. That is correct. Our new height is 10. So we don't want to be adding the origin, I believe, to the Y adjustment. Yeah. Do Y. Oh no, because the origin is 0 anyway. Okay. Have I been reading that wrong? Is it that it's getting the height wrong? So our Y adjustment is -10, and the height adjustment is 10. Because 50, 40, 100, 10. Okay. So this, hmm. Aha, plus self dot, plus, so we do want to add the origin there. This needs to be self dot, drag state dot initial ret dot height. That might make it work for us now. Hey! Let's run the full test suite and see if it works. Yep. Resizing down beyond image bounds. Uh... 100. Y plus Y adjustment. That. Hi, Mr. B. Welcome back. Glad all your meetings are over. How's your day been besides meetings upon meetings? Oh, it's always worse when you get one of those tougher days than you expect on a Monday. Not really a great start to the week when that happens, but as you say, it's over now, so at least you can relax for a bit. Right, so we're still failing here, which is on the height adjustment. So if the adjusted rect origin Y Right. This needs to be the max. Why? Or not? Let's see if we can get this figured out. So our adjusted rect is there. Our new height is 100. Minus max y. Oh, again, that should pass. Okay, so this is all passed, and then what we'll do is try to refactor this because a lot of this is the same. So, before I do that, Mr. B, you were asking at the start of the stream about my starting screen and the Be Right Back screen, and you wanted to know a bit more about that. Initially, all I had was it showed a screenshot of Coppice and then just the website underneath. And then I realized actually I can make this a bit more interactive because it's not very interesting when you have a starting soon screen and all it is a screenshot for 10 minutes. So I spent some time improving it and basically throwing in some information about the stream and promoting everything, like showing bits of features about the app, because I've wanted to show off information about the app, and I've had these animations on my website for a while that I've created. So I basically just adjusted those, added some text, and all it's really doing is cycling through those animations, and I've got a few images that are just either the screenshot of Coppice or the information about the stream. So I've got that showing hopefully just something going on. I mean, I use the same thing on the Be Right Back screen as well. So I mean, if I just switch over to that, you can see I have the animations going there. And these just play around in a loop. This is actually done in Stream Elements. So these are just videos that I've produced and uploaded to Stream Elements, and they've got a rotating slideshow that I've managed to put up. So I've got that there just so that when I am on the Be Right Back screen or am on the Starting Soon screen, that you can actually get an idea of the app. And then I also, in the top left of this screen, in the sidebar, I have that exactly. I have a slideshow that is exported as a video in the top left. So that is just showing the icon now, but then it starts rotating through some features that I've worked on the app. It's almost like a show reel of the app, but also includes, again, stuff about when the stream is, stuff about Coppice Pro, because ultimately Coppice Pro is what funds the app. Well, Coppice Pro is what I want to fund the app. What funds the app right now is contract work. But yeah, just information about the stream and so on, and it's good to have. It just gives a little bit of movement and information going on. So it's I think it's works pretty well. I mean, I'm pretty pleased with how the stream has been coming together. Having the sidebar where I can show tasks and the chat and have this information showing, and if I need to I can hide the sidebar, and now having the ability to show my iPad for when I'm wanting to draw something and sketch something out has been incredibly useful, of trying to open Photoshop and draw using a mouse. In fact, you may appreciate the animation on this, because I did a little tweak on the animation, because you'll notice it slides in but the background turns black as well, and the only way I was able to get that working correctly is doing it on my Stream Deck, because in OBS I basically have one layer which is the iPad drawing, which slides in and out, but then I have a black background which fades in and out just when you show and hide the layers. So I've got an action set up that basically triggers showing and hiding both those layers at once. So when I press that, it works through both of them, which makes a nice effect that looks a bit like a sheet appearing on iOS, where it dims the background a bit. So it's nice playing around with that stuff. It just helps me be a bit more creative with things. Right, so we need to abstract some of this. So yeah, I'm not sure with... I think you can build new transitions for OBS, so I think it is possible to get new transitions that you can put in, but yeah, it is a bit limited in that regard, but I mean it's powerful in other regards, so I mean I'm happy using it for now. See how things go in future. Right, let's just abstract this out. Function. Oh. Oh, right. Right, so it was the other way around. Yeah. I mean, I haven't used Ecamm, so I don't know what the differences are, but I mean, the transitions you have on your stream are pretty good. All I have in terms of switching between scenes is just a simple crossfade between them. I may do something a bit more, but the problem is the character I have in the bottom sort of sits in the same place on other things, so anything more than a crossfade I don't really want to have to deal with. So I mean, it looks okay to me. for now. So I mean, there are far more important things to adjust with it. So right, so we have here. So we're going to pass in the rect. Want an origin offset. With the adjusted rect. No, got the rect. Too far. Adjust rect in here, which is going to equal rect, and then you're going to return. Adjusted rect, and then you have origin offset, which is going to be this here. Self rect dot height minus origin offset minus origin. So that will set that to 0, so we just get minus origin and that is set to something. Okay. So other differences between the two. That's the same. Those are the same. New drag delta stuff there is the same. Y height adjustment. So got the same there, the same there. So we want the adjusted rect dot min, because the max x is the min y plus this. So we do the min y plus origin offset. Plus origin offset. Right, let's comment this out. Going to do adjusted rect equals just y cg rect adjusted rect. Origin offset is going to be dot height. But for the bottom, it's going to be 0. And if we've done everything right, this should leave us with the same number of tests passing. Does not. Interesting. One second, I just need to open something and I just need to make sure it doesn't have anything NDA'd in. Okay, we're good. So let's take that, copy it, and kaleidoscope. I'm going to do new from clipboard. And we're going to do same here. Back to kaleidoscope and paste comparison. Yeah, so it is just those things that have changed. For the height, minus the origin offset, and the origin offset is 0 where with bottom, so therefore it comes height minus origin, which we have there. Make sure that nothing being captured. Right, what do we have being captured? Got the delta. Okay, so that should be okay. Don't understand. Right, so all the bottom ones work. Some of the top ones seem to be failing. Make sure that's still working this way. Okay, so they're failing there. Okay, let's copy this. Let's go way back in the undo history before we did any of this and find out why this has started failing. Now, did it work at this point? Yes, it does.
Synthesis complete.
So these are passing. All the tests pass. Okay. If I take the adjust Y function, stick that up there, do the test still pass? Okay. All the bottom test passed. So then if I do adjust drag equals adjust Y, just to direct on the offset. Okay. State dot in dot. Comment that out. Probably going to fail. Okay. So we have our origin. So origin is 100. The initial drag delta is minus 100. And the new drag delta is minus 110. So 100 minus 100 minus 110. Then again, let's see what we get here. Origin is 100. Initial drag delta is minus 100. Drag delta is minus 110. For the new Y, minus 110. New height is 110. The Y adjustment is minus 10. Oh, is there a... Oh. Oh, yeah, it is the min y plus the height. Same in both cases. Okay, let's try this again. Oh. Okay, progress. Only got one test failing. Hey. Okay. What is going on here? 100, not 150. What? Right, so you have 100 minus when you dragged out is 100. Okay, so that's why we had the max height, the max Y. Change this to max Y. Comes through. Okay. That needs to be in, but subtract origin offset. Now we need to add the origin offset. So if the min y plus the origin offset, okay, so we have min y. That works for everything except for does not allow resizing beyond it. Down. beyond image bounds. In that case, you're dragging it down. Yeah, it becomes the max. Right. There, if... Why is that passing? Why does that pass for that one? Because it's going in the opposite direction. The up works in both cases. Down works because we've not crossed over. But why does it work? I go here. Comment. Let's run this code. Does this test pass? I thought it was passing with this. Okay, so that's failing there. Okay. At least we know that the code is consistent. So... if he adjusted why do we need this? Because this is a somewhat special case. Let's try and plan some of this out. So you have your origin down here. And for the case where your origin is up here and you're dragging down there, makes sense. Because if your new height is like here, that's the line that you want from dragging, then what you say is if the min y plus our new height is greater than the size of the image, which is here, and you set it to the size of the image minus that, so you set the height to that. In this case, you want the origin. So if the origin plus the new height. Height is turn this on. See what values we're getting. Drag delta is 100. So new height is 100. If you have max plus 100, you want to be self dot check, which will be 200 minus the min 150 minus the offset 50. So I suppose the real question is not why does this test fail, it's why do the other tests fail when we have that. Like resizing up beyond image bounds. Why does this fail? So, we have our origin, we have our initial delta, we have our new drag delta. New drag delta is minus 110, so our new y is that, our new height is 110. Y adjustment is minus 10. And the height adjustment 110. Min y, adding your origin. You have to want to make the height absolute. So the problem we are having is that when you're resizing from the top down and you get down to here, we want it so that if this point we add into this point, you only actually get to this point rather than down here. The problem is if you drag up, then we're also doing that height plus that height. So really you need a negative height at that point. Get rid of the absolute here. So you want this. Get rid of that. And here, absolute. So all those are passing. Do not allow resetting up beyond it. So this one is still failing. Let's see why this one is now failing. Because this needs to be negative. Oh, that needs. Yeah, that needs the origin offset adding because the origin is wrong place. Okay.
Distant silhouettes, empty horizon. Sing a still duet, affection's time.
Okay.
Kindred ribbons bring us from our tether.
So, question I have, which I am going to want to. My Mac playground is. I have a rect. Yeah. Can I do rect? Key path. Height. Done any time. Thanks. Oh. No, not like that. And there we go. Rect. Xcode. Let's put on the Xcode face. Let's quit and relaunch Xcode. Are you going to run now? Yes, you are. Okay. I want to do rect key path. Height. Okay, so I can use key paths. Can I do for rect dot origin key path y equals 50? Right. I can. Okay. Direction. Case horizontal, case vertical. Direction, direction. So let our as key path is going to be actual key path size float south turn as dot width path is compatible key path point float south is dot horizontal return CG size dot width. Yay, I'm finally getting somewhere with this. And if my plan works, which it may very well not, but if it does, then what I can do is you've got rect size key path direction dot size path. In key path direction dot origin path. We're going to there. Right. Okay. Origin. Key path direction dot size key path. Size build failed. Why? Direction. Build. If it builds, I should be able to test it. If I can test it, all of my top and bottom tests should pass. Which they do, which means that I can now take this and copy paste. Copy paste. Horizontal width Horizontal. In theory, all the left and right should pass. Nope, I've just broken everything. Because I'm doing delta, right. Delta, origin, key path. Oh. This looks promising. All of our left tests pass. Our right tests are failing, but I'll confirm that. Yes. Right, so... Let's see why. These should be failing. So... Max. Those points are correct. X's, max X, old left, width. Oh, yeah, that should be 20. Should be 20. And that should be 10. 10. I love it when the code's right, but the tests are wrong. Voila! We did it! We have them all working, so what is still left to do? So our rectangles there are not lined up, and then we have creation. Edit. So that. Yeah. Pass there. Right handle if width too small to not overlap. Because we need delta X. So again, the test is wrong. Move if in create mode. Okay. That should be easy. Fix. Move hotspot. Guard, self-dot mode. Edit, else. Turn. Interesting. Interesting. Why is this? Why this is working? Why is it selecting resize bottom right? Going for mid. This. Our editing handles. Right. So what is going wrong for editing? Okay, in this case, it's the order that it is wrong. So this is our bottom right. It needs to be top. This is our top right. Top left. So top left goes bottom. Bottom right goes above top right. Oh, that. Okay. And technically, the test is passing. I suppose we don't care about the size, we just want to make sure that the origin has not changed, because if the origin has changed, then it has moved. Like, we're not testing, has the rect not changed, we're testing that in create mode, we're not moving, and moving always changes the origin. So, do that. Focus on rect equal. And I'll add a comment. Run the whole test suite. Could be other failures in other parts, but our image editor rectangle hotspot test should, fingers crossed, just work. So we have 7 failures, but the key thing is this passes. Where are our other failures? Image hotspot test. Well, that's 4 things that we haven't implemented, and 3 things we haven't implemented. So our only failing tests are ones that we have not implemented. So as it conveniently is 5 PM, I think I am going to call the stream there for the day. It took a lot longer than expected. There was a lot more maths, a lot more drawing. But by the end of it, we have our test suite for rectangle hotspots all running. What this means is that during the rest of the week, possibly starting tomorrow, it depends because my car has to go in for a service, so I'm not sure when exactly I'll be free for streaming. But during this week, we will be doing some more work. As I'm not contracting, I'm going to hopefully try and stream every day this week. But we will be doing UI stuff. We will be actually taking this, sticking it in the UI and seeing, have those tests that I've written worked correctly? Have they been planned out correctly? Have I thought about this correctly? So hopefully we will be able to work through this, get something a bit more visual rather than staring at tests and code all the time, and actually get some hotspots created, because that would be the fun thing. And then once all the hotspot stuff is working, we can then go and work on polygon hotspots, which would be a lot of fun. So let's see if I can find someone else who's streaming Apple development, because this is always a hard thing to do. I'm not seeing anyone. I do think at some point I am going to use Twitch's feedback form to request some tags for people developing for Apple platforms, but unfortunately I appear to be the only one online at the moment. So in that case, I'm going to leave you there, but hopefully you'll come back during the rest of the week, and otherwise hope you have a good day, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and happy coding.